All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the Angelo Carlos podcast. I'm here with AC. How's it going, man?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
All right, so we always like to start the podcast off with a little intro. So I usually like to write you a rap, and we kind of go from there. So let me know what you think about this rap I got for you, AC.
Let's hear it.
AC, you ready, brother? All right. He's a true recruiter and straight shooter. He's got the drive to sign an L5. He's from the Bay and is giving out offers of 500K. The MVP of the Google Fit Basketball League. My drippiest and freshest colleague. It is way too hot in here. Let me welcome my first guest of the podcast, AC. What's going on, brother?
Hey, that was lit, man. Yeah, that's good.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
I appreciate that intro. No, that's awesome.
Of course, of course, of course. So, from my understanding, we're both from the Bay Area. You kind of we met within the Sunnyvale office, right, or in the Palo Alto office, where you were recruiting software engineers, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Um, so why don't you kind of give me a little bit of background about the type of roles you recruit? So AC actually is a recruiter at Google. He specializes on the software engineering side, correct? So the technical side.
Yep.
Can you just give me a little bit more background about that? What you do?
Yeah, so I recruit for this big umbrella called Platforms and Ecosystems, and in that umbrella, there's a bunch of sub departments, and my main teams that I support is Pixel Camera, Android. So a lot of these are like machine learning or low level software engineers, and I recruit pretty much software engineers at Google we call it L4 to L5. So really mid senior level IC engineers. So very impactful within the teams.
Got it. And then you mentioned the levels within Google and big tech. Would you mind kind of diving into that and then talking about what an IC is?
Yeah, so IC is an individual contributor, so pretty much your non-managerial type of role. And within tech, each company like Meta, Amazon, I'm not too familiar with like their leveling, but they have different levelings when it comes to software engineers. So, for example, at Google, we go by L3 to L7, L8, L9. L3 is more like entry level, very fresh, recent graduate software engineer. L4 to L5 is really anybody with like 3 to 5 years to anywhere to like 15 years of experience. I personally have hired an L6 before. L6 is usually a manager or some sort of lead, but there are some high level IC roles as well as an L6. And then you have your L7s and up, like your L9s, the VPs, and all that. Those are for definitely in a different league, but those are for a different team. But yeah, that's a little bit of a breakdown from my experience of like the leveling within Google.
No, that's awesome. And thanks for kind of breaking it down. I feel like, especially in big tech, it's kind of hard to understand how leveling works because it's so different than working in a non-tech company. Usually, most companies are just here senior, like principal, but then that's also kind of a factor in tech. But tech has leveling, and leveling is a huge part of how you actually get hired and the amount of compensation you get. I was wondering if you could demystify hiring for us, right? So, how does it work when, say, a candidate applies to a role? What do you see as a recruiter? Like, take us from the top and then all the way maybe to offer stage. How does it kind of work?
Yeah, so there's multiple steps into it, and that's why they need us as recruiters to really navigate through these steps. So as a recruiter, as a candidate, you might run into a sourcer as well, which pretty much kind of handles the beginning stages of your application. So let's say a candidate applies in through a referral or through a link. Either a recruiter, myself, or like a sourcer will reach out to you and engage that activity in terms of just like going through like the what you're looking for, what we can offer, see if there's even like some sort of interest alignment there from both parties, and then from there just really as a recruiter, I help you. Pretty much, I'll try to set you up for success. So Google, which I think is super cool. There's a lot of resources like, for example, I've used this. We use this program called the Champions Program, where, you know, I set up after interviewing with a potential candidate, before their actual interviews. I set them up with a 30-minute, video call with one of someone that's been in a similar role, that's current Googler, so they can ask them any questions they like as far as like what to expect on the interviews, what to expect from the team, what to expect when they first get started, anything like that you can leverage that time for. And pretty much as a recruiter, I set them up with like the types of interviews that they have. Obviously, there's many different types of SWEs or software engineers, and I have to make sure that it's aligned with, the correct team, the correct assessments, that they're going to be looking for, the correct hiring managers potentially, and then as a Google recruiter too, you try to set them up with some resources and things like that you send them so that they can review on their own. And then after the interview is done, depending on how well or you do on the interview, we can proceed to next steps. Which sometimes this could be the what's it called, like the bottleneck of the process, which is team matching. Mm-hmm. This happens in big tech a lot. I've heard TikTok, I've heard Meta, candidates kind of get stuck in this step, especially when there's like, nowadays where there's some hiring freezes or whatever the case may be. So if you do really well on the interview, but there's no team, you're going to get stuck at that. And you can be stuck at that stage for, a few months even. So yeah, basically the team matching, making sure that obviously you've kind of, at this point, a candidate has shown that they're, I guess, quote unquote, worthy. They did well enough to move forward. And then once a team is aligned and matched, you are then going to just have a conversation with the hiring managers, just making sure that the background, they kind of, you are able to kind of vet out the team and vice versa, to make sure everything aligns. And then from there, if it does align, then we move on to the offer stages. Now, the offer stages, that can take weeks too. It depends on if the candidate has counter offers or deadlines, and also timeliness. Like if it's like towards the end of the quarter, and maybe the headcount is going to be getting lost after the quarter is ending, so we have to expedite it. So it could either be really expedited or it could be a little bit longer. So it's really dependent upon, it's very situational. But as a recruiter, again, that's the type of stuff that we're experts on. That's what they pay me for, is to be an expert in that and in those processes, and just really doing right by the candidate as well as by the institution or Google in general. So yeah. So after the offer is done, and everything's signed, obviously in the offer we negotiate for the candidate as well. So a lot of times, candidates think that it's recruiters versus candidates, but it's really not. Recruiters, we're not incentivized, like by commissions or anything like that, but we do get tracked on like our OAs or offer accepts. So we definitely would love to get as many people hired as possible, because that counts towards our performance. So we're definitely not against each other. And during that offer stages, we're trying to negotiate equity, sign-on bonus, a reload package if they have to reload, and obviously salary. So there's a lot of different things that kind of goes into that. And as a recruiter, you have to be well versed in that, just because, again, if they have counter offers, then you have to know, like, okay, well, they're offering that for you, but here at Google, many people don't know we do front-loaded equity. So we pretty much get all the equity, the breakdown of our equity isn't like 25% throughout 4 years. It's 33, 22, and 12. So, and then obviously, like, after your first or second year, you get a lot of refreshers. So you're getting a lot of that. And some things, on equity too, like other companies they do quarterly or semester, whatever the case may be. But Google, you get vested monthly, so you get